with OCD fears is very much a case of that you have a kind of core fears that are behind everything, that are there. They're not like sort of really hidden. You just don't notice them straight away. So perhaps with existential OCD, what happens is you become sort of frightened of. With existential OCD, it tends to be sort of this. What happens is our OCD journeys begin with sometimes in a moment like that. So it's a reflection that we're often just having in our life towards the past. So we're thinking about the past, and then suddenly there's a sort of a sudden change of insight into something like, oh, maybe I did that, just out of nowhere. So you were fine before, and then you think, oh, maybe I did that in the past. And then bang, that OCD cycle starts. And because you can't see it, you think, well, wouldn't anyone think this? How's this happened? And so that's what becomes the problem. And what you see then is that can then latch into a sort of chronic anxiety cycle in relation to the past, or it could be a thought you're having about the future. So it becomes a sort of chronic anxiety cycle in relation to the future. So you have both of those that could happen, or about a fear currently. So let's take, for example, existential OCD relating to solipsism, that kind of brain in a vat type scenario where you're scared of being this brain that's in a vat. Well, technically, your brain is a brain in a vat in your skull. I mean, you've got your brain that's in your skull, so it's in there, and then our experience is coming from that brain. So all little elements like that can happen as sudden realizations as we go through life, probably maybe around the age of 17 to 20, where you suddenly start questioning, you're thinking, how did I never ever think that before? How did I never ever think about this brain in the vat scenario? How did I never ever think about what comes after death? How did I never ever think about, could everyone be fake and I'm the only one real? That was one of the first ones that caught me, because I was very, very scared of the concept of, when it comes to consciousness, which we obviously know little about. We know that we're conscious because we're inside us, so we can tell our human experience. But we don't know that the other individual sitting in front of us is conscious, because we can't tell. We have a guess that they are because they look similar to us, and you can see how they interact. So we can guess they're more conscious than, say, a chair. But we haven't got certainty of that. So then what happens is it's very easy for us to get scared, because we start to think, well, if I don't know that, if I don't know why exactly that they're conscious like me, then what happens if I can never stop noticing that, and I'm then fixated on that for the rest of my life, which is where you sort of then you cue the solipsism cycle of existential OCD latched on in the background, making you then feel separate to the individual that you're corresponding with, because it kind of intrudes there, so makes that thing that you can't get certainty on, that irrational belief, latched on, and so you're seeing it through a lens of disconnection, of just being disconnected, which then throw in the mix a nice sort of potion there of the combination of disassociation and derealization. Now the person's completely fixated on that they are separate, they are different to that other person, and they can't not see through that lens. Now they're very much lost in the physical anxiety symptoms that are going on in the brain, and they're very much sort of looking through that sort of cortisol-like soup, as well as the observation that they're disconnected. Whereas all that's actually happened is they've been scared of being disconnected, feelings and sensations associated with disconnection, and then that's what's created that feeling. So it's a combination of learning to wear that like an uncomfortable coat, get comfortable with the uncomfortable, as well as seeing that it's not the end of the world if you couldn't connect, and so on, and breaking that down, disputing those irrational beliefs associated with that core fear of being not connected. So